Vikings offseason preview. I mean, can they be a playoff team next season? We're going to break it down right now. They're $5 million over the cap, and that's counting Kyle Rudolph's release. Some roster cuts they can make to free up some cap space. Riley Reif at $11 million. Anthony Barr, $7 million. Shamar Stephen, $3.75 million. And this is crazy, but Harrison Smith, if he gets cut, could save them $10 million. He's on the last year of his deal. Who knows? Maybe they extend him and backload his contract. We don't know, but let's just say they only cut Riley Reif. They can have $8 million of cap space, but then that would put a hole at their left tackle spot, So why do that? In my opinion, the Vikings should cut Anthony Barr and Shamar Stephen. I think those are the two candidates that they should cut. Anthony Barr has kind of been a disappointment to this. Last season, he wasn't very good. He didn't play much either. So, I wouldn't bring back Anthony Barr. That's just my opinion. I'd love to keep Harrison Smith and Riley Reif. I'd like to restructure Riley Reif's contract so he makes half of that, because I'm not paying a tackle that's average $11 million a year.
Yeah, and if they were to cut Anthony Barr, just talking about guys that are free agents for them right now, I think the number one target would be Anthony Harris, but I think he's going to get a payday somewhere else, so I think he'll be out of their price range, unfortunately. The one guy that I would then look at if you cut Barr would be Eric Wilson. If they keep Barr, I think they could move on from Wilson depending on the price tag, but if you do move on from Barr, I think Wilson would be a reasonable guy to bring back. He came in and stepped up pretty well for them last year in Barr's absence.
Barr played 2 games last season.
Yeah, so he played pretty well for them in his absence, so I think that would be a wise decision to bring him back. Outside of that, there's not much that I would bring back,
just gonna keep
especially with their money situation.
That's the thing, is that these are their pending free agents. Anthony Harris, Dakota Dozier, Odenigbo, and Jaleel Johnson. So I think all of these guys can go. Anthony Harris is going to be out of their price range. Dakota Dozier is not a good player. He's not a good guard. I wouldn't bring him back. And Jaleel Johnson is one of the bottom defensive tackles in the league. I wouldn't bring him back. Odenigbo, maybe I'll bring him back. He had 3.5 sacks last season, but I wouldn't mind just letting him go. They have these positions of need: left tackle, left guard, an edge rusher, and they need a safety to replace Anthony Harris. Kirk Cousins was sacked 107 times in the last 3 years with the Vikings. I mean, what free agents do you think they can bring in to help out this Minnesota Vikings team with this limited cap space?
I think when you was naming the positions in need, I think they still need some corners, some veteran corners. I think bringing in those young guys was good, but I think you're going to need veterans to really hold it down. You said run defense, they need it like bad. You said offensive line, it was 26th ranked in the league, so that was bad too.
I don't think they need corners, because I think Dantzler played pretty good last season towards the end of the year, and Jeff Gladney, I think he has a lot of potential.
I think bringing in one more, though, like a veteran, maybe even bringing Xavier Rhodes back.
I don't know.
Or drafting another one. They need help.
Listen, this offseason, I think an important hole for them to fill is going to be that left guard spot, because Dakota Dozier was terrible last year. He was one of the worst offensive linemen probably in all of football. But again, the tough thing is they're working with limited money. I mean, maybe a guy like John Feliciano, I don't know what kind of contract he's going to demand.
Gabe Jackson is going to get cut from the Raiders. He's a potential target.
That wouldn't be a bad move.
Guard.
Let me ask you guys
I was
a question.
thinking Matt Filer is another guy they could like, but they got to figure out that guard spot, because Dozier
J.R.
cannot come
Sweezy,
back.
Lane Taylor, Elijah Wilkinson from the Broncos, Bryant Winters, DJ Fluker. There are some guys.
The Vikings, we can all agree, they have talent on the roster. They have a quarterback who we all can admit he's good, but he's not. They have 2 receivers. They have a running back. On defense, they have Daniel Hunter, Eric Kendricks. They have guys on defense. So what it sounds like to me is they need an offensive line and somebody to fill up Anthony Harris.
I think right now the Vikings' priority should be offensive line.
Yeah, 100% to protect Kirk Cousins.
Then next in line, I think, would be linebackers. Eric Kendricks is older. I think they need some outside linebackers and another edge rusher to complement Daniil Hunter. But For me, I mean, edge rushers, I think Henry Anderson maybe they could look at for a cheap contract. Trent Murphy, Solomon Thomas, who's a young player who
you think Trey Hendrickson is a good edge rusher for them?
I think he'll cost too much.
Yeah.
You know,
Their money situation.
Yeah, that's what's hard for them right
Tyson Alualu, he's older. Jeremiah Atachu, who's an okay guy. Then at free safety, Trey Boston, Terrence Brooks, or Demarius Randall. I think Demarius Randall is a young player who maybe he has something left in the tank. But for me personally, I would love the Vikings to go out and get a guy like DJ Fluker, just a filler guard, because I think they should address linemen in the draft. And then on the edge rusher spot, I think go and get Solomon Thomas. He's 26 years old, a former top 5 pick. He still has a lot of potential. And, I mean, he's been through a lot in his life that's kind of held him back from being a good player in the league. So if he can figure out in Minnesota, that would be a huge steal and a huge bargain if they were to sign him on a minimal contract.
Yeah, I was thinking Romeo Okwara for a lot of the same reasons, but that's another position in need. You know, I don't think – I think they could be a playoff team, but it's kind of like I was saying before, in a division with Aaron Rodgers and that Packers team coming back, you know how good they're going to be. It's realistically going to be a fight for second place. I think they could be the second place team in that division, but the money situation is tough for them. And here's my other question for them this offseason. Is Kirk Cousins your guy moving forward? For how long? And if not, I don't think he'll be their quarterback beyond the next 2 years. When do you start to look to replace him? Because next year's quarterback class is not supposed to be heavy. I mean, that can change, but next year's quarterback class isn't thought very highly of. You know, I'm not saying go out and reach for one this offseason, but it's got to be a thought this offseason, you know, where are we going at quarterback over the next few years?
They have the 14th overall pick in the draft. And these are some guys I feel like they should target. Elijah Vera Tucker, he can play tackle, he can play guard. He's very versatile. I would like him to be that pick. Maybe he falls there. There's a possibility he does. Maybe he doesn't. I would like him to be there. Christian Darrisaw, he's really good. And maybe Devontae Smith, what if he falls to the 14th pick? Do they just abandon O-line and get Thielen, Jefferson, Devontae Smith with Irv Smith? And
Thielen's getting
Cook?
old too, so
you never know. Devontae Smith, they have Jalen Waddle and Jamar Chase over him, Kyle Pitts. So a lot of playmakers over Devontae Smith. If he's there at 14, that would be tough to pass on him. But then Jalen Phillips, or edge rusher, or Gregory Rousseau, or I'm pronouncing his name wrong. It's Gregory Rousseau. It's Gregory Rousseau.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Gregory Rousseau is a freak of nature. I mean, he is built like a tank. I think he would be a good pick, but he's more of a potential guy, so I don't know if the Vikings want to do that. But I think most definitely Christian Darrisaw and Elijah Vera Tucker will probably be there at 14. And if they can get either of those guys, if Devontae Smith is not there, you get him. Yeah. Christian Darrisaw will fill that tackle spot, and Elijah Vera Tucker, I mean, you can put him anywhere. He's going to thrive.
I was thinking the same thing at that first pick. Elijah Vera Tucker, Darrisaw, Rashawn Slater, even if neither of those two guys fall, which I think at least one of Darrisaw or Vera Tucker will be there at 14. And I think offensive line has got to be the pick. You got to shore up that left side of the line for whoever's going to be a quarterback.
Then in the later rounds, Andre Sisco, a safety out of Syracuse. Pat Freiermuth, who's a tight end out of Penn State, who's really good. Aziz Ojulari out of Georgia, edge rusher. Wyatt Davis, an interior lineman, can play guard or center. Brevin Jordan, a tight end if they want some more tight end depth. Liam Eichenberg, Joseph Asai, and maybe Kellen Mond if he's in the second round. I mean, he might be in the second round. I think Kellen Mond, especially after Chris Sims released his QB or rankings. I think he might be there in the second round. But this is my dream draft for the Vikings for the first 4 rounds. In the first round, Elijah Vera Tucker. In the second round, Jamin Davis, linebacker out of Kentucky. In the third round, Andre Sisco. And in the fourth round, Amari Rodgers, wide receiver out of Clemson. I think this linebacker fills another need that the Vikings have. If they move on from Anthony Barr, and Jamin Davis could be there. He can play the outside linebacker or the middle linebacker. He's a very versatile linebacker. Andre Sisco can replace Anthony Harris at safety, and Amari Rodgers get a slot guy to pair up with Jefferson and Thielen. And then Elijah Vera Tucker, just to have an offensive lineman, I think that would be perfect.
Yeah, and I like the idea of Brevin Jordan late. I wasn't thinking that way, but with releasing Rudolph, I think filling that tight end hole would be a smart idea.
They still do have Irv Smith Jr.
That's a good point.
They do need like a second tight end, though.
And I think that they should really consider a quarterback at some point. And I don't know who it is, and I don't know,
Jamie Newman.
Depending, it could be Jamie Newman.
How far do you think Kellen Mond falls, though?
I think Kellen Mond is going to be a second rounder or early third.
I would have said Mond, and I've said Mond for so many teams later on in the draft, but now I think his stock is going to start moving up, and I don't know if I would go up in the second round to take him. I think he's a bit more of a risk, and they have more holes to fill than quarterback right now. So I don't know if second round I'd take him, but I think Newman later on, maybe a fourth round would make more sense, but they got to think about quarterback moving forward.
Yeah, I'm not high on Kellen Mond at all, so I wouldn't take him that high. But this is my dream. This is my dream depth chart for the Vikings in 2021. Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Amari Rodgers, Irv Smith Jr., Elijah Vera Tucker, Rashad Hill at guard, Garrett Bradbury at center, Ezra Cleveland at the other guard spot, and Brian O'Neill at tackle. So basically just getting Elijah Vera Tucker to play tackle. Rashad Hill, you probably could get a better guy than that, but I couldn't really find one with the cap space that the Vikings have to work with. Then on defense, Solomon Thomas, Michael Pierce is going to be back. He was on COVID. He didn't play because of COVID last year.
Big return. That's
going to be a big return. Stephen Weatherly, they got him from the Panthers. He's an okay guy. Daniil Hunter, he's coming back. Big return too. Jamin Davis, Eric Kendricks, Anthony Barr, Cameron Dantzler, Jeff Gladney, Mike Hughes, Harrison Smith, and Andre Cisco. That's my dream depth chart for the Vikings based on the cap space they have to work with.
That could be a playoff team. I definitely think that's a team that could finish second in the division. I don't know about you.
I mean, I think too.
Over the Bears?
Yes.
I think that team could finish.
I mean, I think when you have Daniil Hunter, Solomon Thomas, who I think still has potential, Pierce, Stephen Weatherly is going to be okay. Jamin Davis, who can cover tight ends and running backs. Eric Kendricks, still a very good player. Anthony Barr coming off injury as well. Cameron Dantzler, Jeff Gladney, second year in the league, they're going to be better. Mike Hughes, an okay guy. And Harrison Smith, we know he's going to be a Hall of Famer, so they're going to be good. I mean, if Elijah Vera Tucker comes out and is really great, this offensive line could take a huge jump because Garrett Bradbury is good. Ezra Cleveland showed flashes in his rookie year. Brian O'Neill is an okay tackle. So if Elijah Vera Tucker or Christian Darrisaw, whoever they can get, is good off bat, then they'll be a good offensive line.
That left side was so bad last year that anything would be a major improvement.
Exactly. So that's going to do it for this Minnesota Vikings offseason preview. Hopefully they make it work. I mean, they have very limited cap space. We'll see who they cut. Some cut candidates are Anthony Barr, Riley Reif, Shamar Stephen, and Harrison Smith. So we'll see what they do.